Our friend Dan Shulman, longtime TV play-by-play voice of the Jays, among other things. Among those, happy to have another name to call come opening day. Dan, good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning, guys. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. I will not be calling them Springer Dingers. I've been asked that on Twitter already. That is not going to happen, but Toronto and all of Canada is very excited about George Springer becoming a Blue Jay.
That's great. I know you don't broker in the shticky stuff at all, and that's among the things we like about your work. Hey, so tell us about this signing, and I guess we're all waiting for the next thing, whether it's in the marketplace somewhere else or whether it's with the Blue Jays. We're talking about crazy things like maybe Michael Brantley, but there's a lot of decisions to be made now with the existing group.
Yeah, and you hear the Michael Brantley rumors. I mean, he and George Springer are very close, and obviously if you can get a guy like Michael Brantley, you go and get Michael Brantley. But the Blue Jays are in a good position, but they're in a very interesting position because they now have 4 outfielders. They've got Lourdes Gurriel, Randall Grichuk, Teoscar Hernandez, and George Springer. So you say, okay, well, one of them can DH, but they've got Rowdy Tellez and Vladimir Guerrero, who are both first baseman DHs, unless they move Vladdy back to third base and give him another shot there. So they've got to figure out internally who's going to play what position. And I think they're going to have to make a trade. They'll definitely have to make one if they get Brantley. You look at a possible lineup, and I mean, it's deep and it's talented, especially if Guerrero shows up, in the much better condition, which is what we're hearing over the winter. I mean, the depth of that lineup, if you've got Rowdy Tellez hitting 7th, Randall Grichuk hitting 8th, the big question, though, is will Vladdy play 3rd? If he doesn't play 3rd, somebody on that batting order is probably going to have to get traded in order to free up the logjam a little bit. And they can use that person, whoever it is, to go get a pitcher because they need more pitching if they're going to contend with the Yankees and the Rays.
Danny, talking about that pitching, I think the Blue Jays did an outstanding job last year by taking a lot of their starters who couldn't get any work because there was no minor league baseball and putting them into the bullpen. Do you see any of those guys going from the bullpen last year and getting into the rotation?
I think it's a possibility, Ronnie. I think some of them are going to start at AAA, assuming we do have a minor league season. And you're talking about guys like Thomas Hatch and Anthony Kay, good young pitchers. Ryu, Roark, Ray, and Nate Pearson, in my mind, are locks to be in the rotation. And then is it Trent Thornton? Is it Ross Stripling? I think somebody's going to be on this list on opening day who's not in the organization right now. I don't know who that is, whether it's an Odorizzi that they sign or somebody they go trade for. But I think they need one more pitcher. The bullpen is deep, and it got deeper yesterday. Kirby Yates and Tyler Chatwood got added. And they do have a lot of depth. They have guys who can help at the back end of the rotation and guys who can help in middle and long relief. But I think they need one more legitimate starting pitcher. And the other thing, and Ron, you know this, like Nate Pearson is as good a prospect as there is in baseball, but he barely pitched last year. They're not going to let him go out and throw 200 innings this year. You're going to need more arms to help you get through the season because of how short last year was.
So if they do go ahead and trade for pitching help, Dan, and they use that surplus on the other side of the scorecard to do it, we all assumed, maybe unfairly, that Lourdes Gurriel was the guy they were going to trade. And with every kind of potential fake trade that was put out there by our guys and everybody on MLB.com, it was Gurriel in a package for X, Y, and Z. Now I'm hearing that Kevin Biggio might be in play. Well, is there a path for either one of those things to happen, or are they considered untouchable players?
I don't know if either one of those guys is considered untouchable. I know they really like both of them. The Biggio one is interesting because he's a second baseman, could play third base, and that's not where their surplus is right now. Plus, he can play everywhere. So I think they keep Biggio. It could be Gurriel. It could be Rowdy Tellez. I don't know how much people south of the border know about Rowdy Tellez. He really got it last year. He hit great last year. Plus, he's a left-handed batter, and they don't have very many left-handed batters at all. But again, if Guerrero's a first baseman, then he and Tellez kind of clog up the DH spot. I've heard Teoscar Hernandez's name. He just won a Silver Slugger award. And then there's Randall Grichuk, who's a little bit older, more established, has a bigger contract. Any one of those guys could be the guy who's traded. But of all the names that we just mentioned, I think Biggio is the least likely. I think it's likely one of the outfielders or Rowdy Tellez. And again, there's a risk there. Like a Rowdy Tellez or Lourdes Gurriel, these guys have enormous upside, in my opinion. But if you can use that to go get a really good starting pitcher, maybe they have to consider it. But I think there's going to be still a move coming that will surprise and maybe rock Blue Jays fans a little bit, but it's something they might have to do to make the pieces of the puzzle fit better.
You know, Dan, I'm with you. I think Guerrero has to play third base to really solidify your team. But you've got to be very proud of the young man and what he's done with the work this winter and getting himself in unbelievable shape.
Yeah. Last we heard, he's lost about 40 pounds, I think. So, I mean, he admitted he was up about 280. So if he comes in at 240, I mean, he's going to hit, guys. I think as long as he's in decent condition, he's going to hit. And whether it's a third, first, DH, or some combination of those three, I don't know. And you're right, Ron. The puzzle works much better if he plays third. But the Blue Jays, and Ross Atkins, the GM of the Jays, has said this many, many times, they need to focus on run prevention. He doesn't say pitching. He says run prevention. Their defense was subpar last year. Springer helps, but they need to still get better defensively. They're still a below-average defensive team. Their lives are a lot easier if Guerrero can play a competent third base, but we don't know if we can. We don't know if they'll give him a shot in spring training or if they've already made up their mind. But if he comes out and swings the bat like he's capable of, like a Soto, like a Tatis, like an Acuna, Vladdy's supposed to be the fourth Beatle in that group. He's supposed to be in that group with those guys. And if he comes out and does what we all think he's capable of, they're going to be a scary offensive team.
Boy, the Blue Jays are fascinating to watch work this time of year. There's so many unanswered questions, including where they're going to play their home games. How are you with the idea that you might be spending the spring and summer somewhere in Florida, siding up to the Luby's soft food buffet about 3 p.m.?
Well, as you know, during these times, everybody's got to do what you got to do. I just called a whole season of Blue Jay games from a studio in Toronto, and I called a whole month of playoff games for ESPN Radio from Bristol, and now I'm calling games from Charlotte in a studio on the college basketball side. So it's one of those it is what it is things, right, guys? And I would expect them to start in Dunedin. That's what I'm hearing, not Buffalo, that they'll go to Dunedin, where they just totally rebuilt their facilities down there. And they'll come to Toronto whenever the world allows them and the restrictions allow them to come to Toronto, whether it's May, June, July, who knows? But it's nice to see. Blue Jays fans are always worried about players not wanting to come to Toronto or not wanting to play in Canada. Now there's the added uncertainty of where they will play. And the Jays always have to pay a bit of a premium in free agency to get guys. But it's nice to see a Robbie Ray, a George Springer, and hopefully others saying, you know what, we're going to look past that. We like the team. We like the culture. We think this team is ready to win. And it's nice for Blue Jays fans to feel like their team is an attractive place to go.
Well, we would agree with all that for sure from where we sit down here. Dan, we appreciate the visit as always, and we look forward to seeing you in person sometime this season.